If you were entertained by the video that you're about to see, definitely don't be afraid to leave a like or a comment, something as simple as, hey, nice video. It's more than enough support for me, and it gives me engaged to see that if you like this video, I can create more of them. Thanks, guys. Hey, what's up, y'all? So I've returned back to playing DCO for a little bit for about 2 weeks now, and during those 2 weeks, something's been on my mind lately. And you know I like to run my mouth, so we're going to turn this into another little discussion video. So same as always, just hear me out, listen to the video. If you agree or disagree, definitely let me know in the comments, and like the video if you like what I've been saying. But yeah, for about 2 weeks now, I kind of just returned back to the game. And real quick, just to clarify my position, I know there's some people who don't like listening to a random who don't know what they're talking about. I've been playing the game seriously since 2013 all the way to 2017. And at some point, I was like, you know what? If I'm playing this game as part of my little hobby, let me flip it and turn it into another hobby. So I've been making YouTube videos for this game and whatnot, as you'll probably see if you check out my channels from my YouTube channel for way back then. But nonetheless, I do know some things about this game and its history, right? But yeah, I recently till now, 2017 was when I stopped playing. And then recently, at this day of the video or age of the video, DCO released a development update for what they're up to next. And all of it, I read all of it. All of it was pretty good. I don't know how I ran across it. And particularly, there was one statement that really made me interest me into playing the game again. And so, you already know how it goes. If you're taking a long break from DCO, the first thing you gotta ask is, what's DPS like nowadays? What's the gameplay like? You know, I gotta see some loadouts, I gotta see some rotation. And so, I made 2 videos just talking about the DCO development updates, so definitely check those out if you want to just catch up with what I'm talking about. But in one of the comments, I left asking, like, if anybody knows a power that gives creative freedom for loadouts, definitely let me know. And shout out to Jen, he actually gave me some recommendations. He said try out fire and munitions. Oh yeah, okay, bet. So I re-downloaded DCUO, I logged in, and my character was Harlight for some reason, which is interesting because usually I'm a healer power set and electricity is my baby. So it was interesting I was Harlight, but I'm like, whatever, cool. So I looked up a loadout video for Harlight, you know, just a random video. And this loadout was really peculiar, this guy was doing. He had 2 Harlight powers in his slot. He had 1 movement mode, and he had the rest was iconics. And I looked at it and I was like, oh shit, you know, you're able to use movement modes and iconics in your rotations now? Oh, that's pretty dope. That was me at first glance, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I went and watched a different Harlight video. And this guy, he had about a similar loadout-ish. He had a different artifact setup, which we're going to talk about that later. But yeah, his loadout was pretty similar to the original guy. So I'm like, all right, cool. I kind of know what that is like. What's fire looking like nowadays? So I looked up fire, and here's where I noticed the trend. And I'm like, ah, shit. There's a meta going on for DCO once again. And so that's something that's been on my mind lately, just talking about it, is DCO just, even when I was playing to just those current back in the day stuff, it seems like at some point DCUO has just lost that. It has become the absence of creativity has been lost throughout the game. That's just kind of how I look at it. DCO definitely has a creativity problem to where you can't really just have the freedom of making your rotations. And I feel like this all started, maybe weapon mastery, like around that time when that came to the game and such. And I feel like for a game like DCUO that's so unique already, it's really messed up to just have like a set mandatory meta. And when I say mandatory, I mean it as almost to be viable to perform and whatnot. And so I'm gonna talk about it a little. And like I said, there's one reason that made me get back to playing this game, and we're going to mention that. It's going to make all this come together. So, movement modes, super speed, Little history lessons for the kiddos. Super speed has always been top tier. Super speed has always been the go-to. Shout out to all my OGs who remember phase dodging back in what Themyscira Origin Crisis days or whatnot. So I knew super speed has always been like a just the utility of it, the power sets that you can use for clipping wise or just power regaining wise. Super speed always been good. So having that being like a if a meta was to become a thing and you had to have that in your loadout, I'm cool with it. I can let it slide. You're only spending a skill point anyway, so I let that go for as it is. I would say at least, cause listen, I'm not the type that likes to just rant about my problems. I like to make solutions or come up with solutions. I'll say at least for movement modes, if you are gonna make movement modes become strong, at least make all of them strong. You feel me? Like I know every movement mode ability tree has one skill that does single target damage and another skill that does multi-target hits. So why not just increase the damage for all of them if we're trying to make them viable and such. Like for instance, flight. I know flight has swoop attack. You can make that just a good single target attack. And I know that what's the other move? Whirling wind for flight. That's a multi-hitting move. So that's just something that I've been thinking about. Like if you are gonna make movement modes be viable, then at least go the route to where not only they have the damage increase, but they also have like functionality to it. But that's just a little something for moving modes. I'll let that slide as far as the meta. Now, iconics. Iconics. This is a tricky one to talk about. So, iconics also has always been a part of usage in the DCUO. Not meta, but definitely optimization as far as loadouts. I mean, what Hardlight Shield has been used for rotations and loadouts before. Robot Sidekick definitely was used back in the day. You have Word of Power. Word of Power used to be really used back in PvP back in the day. So it's not nothing new. It's more of the fact that, matter of fact, it's a comment that I remember seeing on YouTube of somebody talking about how back then powers, especially not powers, but iconics and movement modes wasn't good, but now that they're decent, now you guys have a problem. And I responded back saying to that, no, the issue is not that they're decent now, it's that they are mandatory. And what I mean by mandatory is for the people who, like I said, to me, there's a difference between being a casual and being a hardcore player, obviously, right? But even as a casual, I still want to be viable to my teammates. I still want to be viable to the group. So that means, yes, I do want to go out of my way to at least perform at a good quality level. So if this person is putting up a million damage, I at least want to put up something 800, 950, or at least beat the motherfucker and be at the top, right? And so I, at least as a casual player, look at it at that. But back then, I used to go out of my way to perform as much as I could. And DCO is not really that hard of a game. So that's what I kind of mean by mandatory as far as being viable to the group so that you're not almost a dead weight. And it's interesting too because somebody I've read in the forums, they brought up a point or argument point saying, DCO, the power balance is actually more closer than it ever has been before. And I was thinking about that and I was like, yes, but also I disagree, right? So listen, I understand that some powers, their performance for one situation, like single target, they might be the better performer there, but they might be subpar when it comes to multi-target. I understand that. I understand that iconics and mover modes are kind of like the filler to compensate for those actions, and that's something I kind of been working on myself or talking to myself like, hey, like the power that you have right now, it might be good for this, but it's lacking in this. So why not use an iconic mode to, just be up top of there if you're really trying to be, top the charts with those people and whatnot. So that's kind of been a battle I've been balancing against. So yeah, powers are viable. Every power is viable. No longer are you getting kicked for the color of your power. But still, I also disagree because you're not able to create the loadout that you would be able to create with your own power set. Like, yeah, maybe if I use like one or two of iconics or from my movement tree, then maybe. But to have your whole loadout, half of your loadout is not even the power that you're using, I think that's lame. That's whack. Like, come, you're what, hard light, and you're using nothing, using different powers but hard light. Imagine being hard light and using freezing breath. Like, what the fuck? But it's like that. Like that's what it is. So for iconics, um, I'm cool with having some of them in, but you definitely gotta give me my powers to have viability too in scenarios. So that's just kind of how I'm looking at iconics at the moment. And lastly, I'm trying to see. Do I want to talk about my last point or what got me back into the game? I would say lastly, the last thing is artifacts. Now this sucker right here, artifacts. DCUO meta is just too expensive, and that shit makes no sense. I don't know about you guys. Definitely leave in a comment section for any type of MMO. Have you ever played an MMO where they had different character progressions, and one of them was just a very, very, very hard, time-consuming progression system, and the other one was a very, very, very expensive progression system? So I'm talking about skill points and artifacts. Now, I was actually talking with a friend of mine about skill points, and he said skill points gotta go. Like, we're to the point where we got 500 skill points, and once you get the max of your DPS initiates, like, what the hell are you gonna do with the other 200? You're just doing gimmick shit now, putting everything in health and dominance because what? For your shield? Like, that one makes no sense. And so I kind of agree. Tell me what y'all think about that. I'm kind of still sitting on that topic as far as what solution to provide for that. But as far as iconics, I'm okay with having to get knife metal and leveling up. I'm okay with having to spend my currency marks to get catalysts to break through it. What I'm not okay with is motherfucking seals of preservation not being able to obtain in game. That is a very fucked system, and this is something that needs to change. Take this with a grain of salt. Take this with a grain of salt for what I'm about to say. But I think somebody said in this next update that they're supposed to have seals of preservation added in the vendors. Take that with a grain of salt. I don't know where they got that source from. I read through the development update just to see if they seen it. Read it from there and I didn't see it. But artifacts, just having to level certain artifacts up to 200 if you really want to get the most usage of it. The breakthrough system is really, really dumb. There are people, and I can even vouch for myself, where we literally at 95% and we failed it. What the fuck? There is absolutely no reason why seals of preservation should not be in the game, at least obtained in the game. Now, completion is a whole different thing. That's something where you're guaranteed to succeed. You can keep that as a monetization, but preservation, come on now. You gotta have that added to the game. So overall, as far as just the meta, I feel like, especially with the idea of artifacts were supposed to add almost variety into the game. It's fucked up that they monetize as being creativity, but with the absence of creativity in the game already, you kind of just take whatever you can get, right? And so artifacts definitely, as long as they can get preservation in, I'm cool with that. But even still, I want to see different artifacts used by other people. And this brings me to another subject. I feel in DCO, the community, there's a lot of followers who will listen to whatever a YouTube video loadout just be. And I'm curious if that's the situation right now, to where a lot of people really ain't testing or just trying out different things or rotation. Now, I know I've been out of the loop since 2017, so maybe people have tried some things out and everything just wasn't viable except for transformation card and strategist card and solar amplifier or grim for DPS specifically, right? So I see other DPS artifacts and I'm like, yo, what if I use this combined with this type of style, using this weapon? Like I just start having creativity in my head just building up, right? But I need DCUO to support that idea. If I come up with if I put all my resources, my skill points, my talents as far as how I play the game and such, what my gear level is at, my artifacts is upgraded right. If I have a creative idea and I come up with this idea to create a rotation for myself, I should be rewarded. That's it. That's what I feel like is missing from DCO as of right now. Just my 2 weeks being back in the game, and it's really fucked up too. Specifically with this statement that they made that I'm about to show for their development update. They said that they had upgraded their internal system to where they can internally work on updates or test stuff more faster and right. And this is the sole reason that got me back into playing the game, because what this alludes to is accountability. Did what you telling me this lets me know that from now on, once this update comes out, you devs are accountable for every power that needs to be worked on, bugs, fixes, etc. There is no reason to where if somebody is saying that this needs to be worked on or fixed, that you can't fix it. I'm not saying to do it by next weekend. I'm not saying to do it by next month. But just whatever the next patch that comes through, that should be implemented into. And back then they had an excuse to where how their coding was just a little bit weird and different. But now that they just been slowly progressing to just having their thing just work for them, they should now be able to confidently and comfortably be able to work, change the value, work on the power set or whatever, and just, make something viable or fixable, if you kind of catch my drift on what I'm saying. And so this has been something that's kind of been bothering me a little bit. Or I won't even say bothering, but just the anticipation of it. Like I said, that accountability is going to be a big part for me, because I'm not 100% back in DCUO. If the devs still mess around and fool around after this update, I'm going back to closing the door, and there's way too many games coming out for me to be worrying about if DCUO is going to listen to my feedback or not. And so I think that's about all I can exhaust from my mind, just what I think about the meta so far or whatnot. So as far as just the end of the video, just a question is, what do you guys think? Do y'all really feel like that there's just no more, all the creative ideas has just been played out because this meta is what works? Or is it that everybody's just following each other and we really didn't take the time to just mess around and try something new? And so that just has been something that's been on my mind lately, as far as just the meta of just DCUO and such. And so thankfully, when I was looking up highlight stuff, I did find one channel. Shout out to No Name Found DCO. This is a YouTuber's name, and I found a highlight guide from this guy. No Name Found DCO had a guide for highlight. He had like the different rotations compared to what I was seeing before, and it definitely has kept me invigorated as far as playing the game, because there was different styles. So shout out to that guy. He gave me some different loadouts just from watching his videos, and so that kind of helped with the motivation of keep on playing the game, just to thug it out and such, right? But yeah, guys, besides that, I'm kind of done talking to y'all. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. Once again, if y'all agree with any talking points I said, definitely let me know in the comments. And listen, it costs nothing to support your boy, so definitely like the video if you like it. And hey man, I got some big plans for this channel, so subscribe and stay tuned what I'll do. But besides that, y'all take care of yourselves, y'all hear? Peace.